What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're getting into my February 14th Bracketology Predictions. Another crazy week of college basketball. So let's look at it. Oh my goodness, man. What a week. But looking at the bracket watch, the new top row seed Alabama going to Auburn, beating Auburn. Auburn was playing good in that game. That is a very impressive win for Bama there on the road, tough environment. They were able to pull it out and just pull away late and won by like 9. Huge win. First team out, Oregon, fighting in, playing good in the Pac-12 right now. And then the last team in, we got Clemson, who got smoked by North Carolina on Saturday. But if we look at the last 4 byes here, starting out with West Virginia, losing to Texas on the weekend. As I mentioned, Auburn, very tough loss for them against Alabama. Still think Auburn's a very good team there. We got Boise State and Memphis. Last for him, we got Mississippi State, North Carolina. Mississippi State got a big win against Arkansas as well as North Carolina, like I mentioned, beating Clemson, yeah. And then New Mexico and then Clemson. First for out, we got Oregon. Kentucky losing to Texas A&M. That's a tough loss for Kentucky to swallow right now. USC, who lost to I want to say Oregon State. Yeah, Oregon State. 2 bad losses. They lost to Oregon, then Oregon State, who's been playing horrible this season. Very tough loss for USC. And then we got Wisconsin. Then the first route, we got Charleston, Arizona State, Seton Hall, and then Utah. So a lot of Pac-12 teams there trying to fight for a spot. All right, but if we look at the bracket here, starting out with the first 4 games, we got Howard new to the field at a 16 seed. New Mexico is going to be dropping down to 11. Mississippi State new to the field at 11, and then North Carolina falling to the 11. All right, for the full bracket here, Alabama, as I mentioned, the number 1 seed now. Creighton beating UConn over the weekend, a huge win for them. They're going to be jumping up to a 5 seed. Another big win, Indiana playing really good in the Big Ten right now, beating Rutgers on Saturday. And then VCU is going to be dropping down to a 13 seed. Marquette going to be coming up to a 3 seed. We got Northwestern coming up to a 7 seed, and then Auburn dropping down to a 10 seed. Northwestern obviously beating Purdue, a huge win for them. My goodness, that was a big time game for Northwestern. Very impressive. And then Baylor coming up to a 2 seed, getting the job done against TCU over the weekend. All right, in the Midwest region, Purdue, as I mentioned, tough loss to Northwestern, and they find themselves as now the second best 1 seed. Oklahoma State going to be jumping up to an 8 seed, beating Iowa State. Big win for Oklahoma State there. And their chances really got a big leap from that. Arkansas, as I mentioned earlier, losing to Mississippi State over the weekend. Then we have Tennessee, another heartbreaking loss, a buzzer beater 3 by Missouri. What a shot from I believe it was the logo. My goodness, what a play for the Volunteers. And then Furman's going to be dropping down to 14. Texas A&M, as I mentioned, beating Kentucky. Really the second best team in conference play in the SEC right now. Playing really good. Then also Texas losing to Texas Tech last night. Tough loss for them. And then in the West region here, Houston going to be staying at that 1 seed. Providence going to be dropping down to an 8 seed. I think that they had a bad loss. I forgot who it was to. Duke, that controversial call at the end where they called back the foul, and then they lost to Virginia in overtime. That's a very tough loss for Duke. Illinois beating I don't even remember. Sorry, guys. I don't remember who Illinois beat. Did Illinois beat Rutgers? I don't know. I think Illinois beat Rutgers, and I'm not sure who Indiana beat now that I think about it. Sorry, guys. But Illinois jumping it to a 5 seed. We got Iowa State dropping down to a 4 seed here. As I mentioned, losing to Oklahoma State. St. Mary's didn't really lose to anyone, dropping down to a 6 seed, though. And then Michigan State jumping up to a 7 seed. In the East region, Kansas going to be coming up to the 1 seed, dominates Oklahoma, but really because of the Arizona loss, that's why they're coming up. Milwaukee going to be new to the field at a 16 seed. We got Maryland dropping down an 8 seed. They didn't lose to anyone. They're playing good right now. Interesting that they're dropping down. And then Pittsburgh going to be dropping down to a 9. We got UConn falling to a 5 seed, as I mentioned, losing to Creighton. Good game, though. Both those teams played well. And then Yale going to be new to the field at 13. And then TCU, I know they're a 6 seed right now, but this team's banged up. This is a really good team, guys. Watch out for TCU in the tournament. I know they've lost a few games here, but if this team's healthy, this team could be dangerous. Memphis is going to be new to the field at 11 seed. Missouri, as I mentioned, huge win over TCU, going to be jumping to a 7 seed. West Virginia going to be dropping down to a 10 seed. And then obviously the big loss, Arizona losing to Stanford. That puts them below the top overall seed there, just not the one to lose to there if you're Arizona. And then Ryder going to be coming up to a 15. All right, so as breaking down the whole weekend, that was a long segment, but obviously this was a crazy weekend, man. You gotta love college basketball. But anyway, let's look at the full bracket here. Starting out with these first 4 games, we got New Mexico and Clemson. I'm not a big fan of Clemson. I'm going to go with New Mexico. They're a good team out of the Mountain West there. I do think that Fairleigh Dickinson could beat Alcorn State there. Mississippi State gets North Carolina, a good matchup, but I think that North Carolina is the better team. I know they just lost last night to Miami, but that was a very impressive win against Clemson over the weekend. And then Morehead State, I think, could beat Howard. All right. Okay, let's go here. Starting out with the round of 64. Alabama, I do think, could beat Fairleigh Dickinson. Really good matchup between NC State and Florida Atlantic, but I think that NC State could prevail there. Creighton, I think, could beat Liberty, as well as Indiana pulling off the win over VCU. Iowa, I think, could hold off Boise State. Marquette could beat Hofstra. Northwestern, I think, could beat Auburn, although Auburn's a really good team, but Northwestern was just too impressive in their last game. And then Baylor, I think, could beat Vermont. So all chalk in that region. I just don't see an upset happening right now. Let's go down here. We got Kansas beating Milwaukee. Maryland, I think, could pull off the win over Pittsburgh. UConn, I think, could beat Kent State, as well as Gonzaga beating Yale. TCU, I think, could beat Memphis. And Virginia, I think, can beat Colgate. So, yeah, I mean, Missouri, I think, could beat West Virginia. And then Arizona could beat Rider. So, again, guys, no upsets. I guess both these regions, I just don't see an upset opportunity here. Maybe Kent State over UConn, but UConn's been – I don't like Kent State as a 12 seed very much. Maybe Yale, but again, like Gonzaga played well against BYU. Tough loss for my Cougars, but Memphis is a good 11 seed. But again, guys, these left regions here, I see all chalk. Now, that's very unlikely to happen, but I'm just going to do it. I don't even know how to – that's how the bracket's set up. That's very rare, but that's how I see it. All right, so let's go over here. Purdue, I think, could beat Morehead State. An 8 versus 9 seed matchup here. Good game. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. Never mind. I think that Arkansas can win. They have enough talent. Miami, I think, could beat Southern Mississippi. And then I'm going to go with the first upset here. I guess that counts. But Utah Valley pulling off the win over Xavier. I like Utah Valley as a team. They're a good 13 seed. And Xavier just lost to Butler over the weekend. Just kind of an iffy team right now. I think that Utah Valley can win that one. And then here, I'm going to go with an upset pick here. Let's go with New Mexico to beat Rutgers. I mean, Rutgers is a good team, but New Mexico, coming off the first 4 game, I think that they can have enough in this one to pull off a big win over Rutgers. So let's do that upset. And then Tennessee, I think, could beat Furman. I'm going to go with the slight 10-7 upset there with Texas A&M winning, and then Texas, I think, could beat UNC Asheville. So there are those games. All right, down here we got Houston beating Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Christie or whatever, however you want to pronounce it. Providence against Duke. Both these teams struggled over the weekend. I still believe in Providence as a team. I'm going to have to go with them. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here. Let's go with Oral Roberts, the 12 seed. Now, don't get me wrong. Illinois is a really good team. But I think that Oral Roberts can really pull off an upset against about any team in the country right now. And I don't know about Illinois. They're a good team, but we'll see what happens in the tournament. I think that Oral Roberts is a candidate to pull off an upset, so I'm going to do it. Iowa State, I do think it hold off Drake, though. I'm going to go with Yeah, St. Mary's is a good team. I'm going to go with them to beat North Carolina, as well as Kansas State beating UC Santa Barbara. I'm going to go with let's do it. Slight 10/7 upset here. I really do like Michigan State, but Nevada, I'm a big Nevada fan. I'm going with the upset, and then UCLA, I think, could beat Eastern Washington. All right, let's go over here. 40 spot in the Sweet 16. Alabama can hold off NC State. Then a really good matchup between Indiana and Creighton. I like these two teams a lot. I just like Indiana a little bit more right now. Those two teams, I do think that if their matchup against a lot of other teams, I would pick them. But in this matchup, I'm not going to go with Creighton there. I think that Indiana is the slightly better team. Iowa gets Marquette. I'm going to go with the 6/3 upset here. Marquette, don't get me wrong, a good 3 seed, but Iowa playing good basketball in the Big Ten. I'm going with Iowa, and then I do think that Baylor can beat Northwestern. All right, so Kansas versus Maryland. I'm going with a huge upset pick here. Maryland, the Terps, big Maryland supporter here, playing good basketball. Now, don't get me wrong, Kansas is a really freaking good team. But usually a 1 seed goes down in the round of 32 a lot of times, and I think that Kansas is probably the weakest of all these 1 seeds. Maybe better than Houston, but I'm not sure. I think that Maryland can pull off a win. All right, and then a 5-4 seed matchup here, UConn versus Gonzaga. I will go with the Zags there. I'm going to let's go with an upset pick here again, another 6 seed winning. I'm going with TCU. Now, TCU is banged up right now, but I think if they're healthy by the time for March, this is a very scary team. Virginia nearly lost to Duke. Virginia's a good team. I think that they could lose earlier on in the bracket, especially playing a good TCU team. So a lot more chaos going on in this round of 32 here, but Arizona, I do think, will be able to pull off the win over Missouri. All right, so over here, Purdue against Arkansas. I'm going with Purdue. Miami, I think, can beat Utah Valley there. Tennessee could be a 3 seed that could go down, but against New Mexico, I don't see it happening, as well as Texas beating Texas A&M. So all chalk right there. Down here, Houston against Providence. I'm going with the Cougars of Houston. And then I'm going to go with a huge upset pick. I got a Cinderella run for Oral Roberts. Let's do it. Iowa State, I really do like them, but they've lost 2 straight games, kind of playing inconsistent right now. Obviously, they beat Kansas a few games ago, but now they lost to, I think, the last 4 out of 5, I believe. Yeah, I mean, it's been a rough stretch for Iowa State here. And I think that Oral Roberts, watch out for this Oral Roberts team. I think that they can win. But I do think that Kansas State will be able to prevail against St. Mary's. And then I'm going to go with a big 7 seed upset here. UCLA, I think, is at risk of pulling off, of getting upset in the first round. And guess what? Nevada is a really good 10 seed there. I think that they can make a run in the tournament. I'm going with the Wolfpack of Nevada to advance. All right, let's go over here. We got Alabama against Indiana. Last time these two teams played, I picked Indiana. I really like both these teams a lot. But, I mean, I had Indiana in my championship game last time. But coming in the Sweet 16, Alabama's playing too good right now. I'm going to have to go with Bama there. And then Baylor, I do think it'd be Iowa in that game. Maryland against Gonzaga. Let's go with the Terps of Maryland to pull off the win. I'm not a big fan of Gonzaga. If Maryland can beat Kansas, I think that they can beat Gonzaga here. And Maryland, watch out for this team. I've made some runs with them in the past. Let's do it again here. Maryland going to the Elite Eight. And then Arizona looked bad against Stanford, but I'm still have faith in Arizona. I picked them in the championship game for a reason the past couple of times. I still believe in Arizona. I think that they could beat TCU. All right, and then over here, Purdue against Miami. I do think Purdue still has it in them, even though after a couple tough losses against Indiana and Northwestern. And then Texas, I do think it beat Tennessee. All right, and then down here, Houston, I do think, unfortunately, I think that Oral Roberts' run is going to come to an end there. And then Kansas State, I think, can beat Nevada. You know what? Never mind. Let's just have some fun with it. Let's go with Oral Roberts. Houston, I think, we've seen them lose. We saw them lose to Temple. Oral Roberts is a better team than Temple. You never know what can happen. Let's have some fun in these bracketologies. Have another 1 seed going down here in Oral Roberts. Why not? I love Oral Roberts as a team. Let's give them some love as a double-digit seed making the Elite Eight. All right, so for a spot in the Elite Eight, the Final Four, Alabama against Baylor. Baylor's a good team, but Alabama, I think, can beat Baylor there. And then in Maryland against Arizona, as much as I would like to see Maryland making a run, I do believe in Arizona as a team. I think that they can advance. Purdue against Texas. I know Texas just lost last night, but I'm going to go with the slight 2-1 upset. Texas looked good against West Virginia. I still believe in this Texas Longhorns team. And the Boilermakers are a really good team, but these past 2 losses have kind of woken a few people up. I think that Texas can win that one. And then a wonky matchup between a top 12 versus a 3 seed. I do think Kansas State will be able to end Oral Roberts' run in the Elite Eight. All right, so in the Final Four, we got a 1 seed in Alabama. We got 2 seeds in Arizona and Texas. Then we got a 3 seed in Kansas State. So for a spot in the Final Four, we got Alabama. We got Arizona. I believe in Arizona as a team, but after that loss, I got to give it to Alabama there. I think that they can win. And then Texas versus Kansas State. A 3 seed versus a 2 seed. 2 teams that know each other well. I think that Kansas State can win. I know Texas beat them a few weeks ago, but Kansas State, I think, could get the revenge to advance on to the championship game. Then we got Alabama, Kansas State. We're 2 really good teams, but I'm going to go with the number 1 overall seed here. Alabama just playing 2 good basketball, sorry. Alabama, obviously a good football program, but I think that they can win the national championship in basketball. Anyway, guys, thank y'all for watching this video today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the content. A lot of craziness happening here, but comment down below your predictions. And anyway, peace.